So last week we saw the meaning. Yes, meaning, the characteristics. Like what are all the types of business and the problems faced by small business enterprise. We stopped with that or what? Sorry?
We looked at the importance, the benefits, advantages, and we stopped at the disadvantages.
Okay. Okay, so we didn't cover disadvantage.
No, we covered.
We covered. Okay.
That was the last one.
Okay. Okay, so it's that. So we have just covered the introduction part. Okay. Introduction, the characteristics, the importance. So next one we have to see is what are all the policy initiatives. Policy initiatives of small scale business. So what are all the policies required for small business enterprises? What is a policy initiative? What do you mean? Why policies are being there in the organization? Yes. If you take in universities also we have lot of policies like harassment policies, admission policy, examination policies like that. Like what is the main purpose or main use of this policies? Have you been like, are you aware that you have policies? Yes? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Insurance.
Yes. Not only in like universities, in all the areas they will develop policies. So these policies, why they are being developed? Yes. Like if any problem arises, to solve that problem, yes.
Hello.
Yes. Morning. You are a student?
Yes.
This class?
Yes.
Okay. To solve that problem, we should refer the policies. For example, if any student is being caught in examination for cheating, okay? If any student is caught in cheating, for that we will be referring the exam policies. So if he is caught, what will be the procedures to be followed? What is the next step we are going to solve that problem? For that reference, you will be using the policies. So policy is a reference to solve the problems. Okay. So for that only we will be using the policy statement. So there are many policies for the small business enterprise also. So we have seen what is a policy. What is initiative? What is the initiative? What is the initiative? Yes? What do you mean by initiative? Initiative means like starting up. Okay? So policy initiative is just to start up with the policies in the organization, to start up with the reference point to solve a particular issue in the organization, in the small business enterprise. So a policy initiative is a startup point. Okay, it is a startup point in small business enterprise, or it is the initiative of an individual in a small business enterprise to solve a particular issue or a problem. So there are like many policies in small business enterprise. Like we have in organizational policies, structural policy, then your general policies, insurance policies. These are some of the policies which are applicable in the organization.
What's the first one?
Organizational policy, structural, general policies and insurance. These are some of the policies which are applicable in small business enterprises. So why these policies are being in small business enterprise? As I said, if there is any issue arises in the organization, like if there is any employee issues, if there is any like strikes, they have to refer the organizational policies. So any policy document which is related to the organization, okay, like any employee policies, their work culture, their what is the work nature, what is the terms and references, how the employment is being made, anything related to the employees in the organization will come under organizational policies. And structure is the structure of the organization. So if you see some structure will be CEO, then managing director, then managers, then assistant managers, then only employees. So if this structure of the organization has any issues, like if you see this manager is in any illegal issues, then they will be referring that policy. What is the policy which is related to this one? If the employees are going in strike, then they will be referring this policy. So, like depending upon the policy, what is the solution for that problem? If some employees are going in strike, then like one day it may be a salary cut or they may be given a warning letter. It depends upon how it is being treated in the policy. Okay. And the next one is general policy. General policy is applicable to all the employees, not only to the employees, to the management also. So this general policy will speak about like like if they face any accidents or if something happens in the organization, your disciplinary, your attendance, it is like a handbook for the students. Okay, if you see in the student's handbook, in the student's diary, all the details will be there from the top to bottom about your university. So it is like a handbook for the employees. That is the general policy. And the last one, it is the insurance. It is like a medical aid. Maybe it may be a life insurance or a medical policies, but this is mostly related to the life of the employee. Okay. So these are all the major policies which are being used in small business enterprises. Clear? and this general policy. So the policies are generally, like we are not only covering the policy, but we have to find out what is the issue and solve it. As I told, like if any harassment is there in the university means, we have to go and see the general policy. According to the general policy, what is the procedure for harassment? Is there a discipline or like how to treat that issue? How to solve that issue? That procedures will be, guidelines will be given in the policies. So based on that policies only, we will be following the procedures. So not only small business enterprise, all the business will be having some policies. There will be having like corporate social responsibility policies. How an organization is responsible to the society. How much they should contribute to the society. How much percentage will they be giving to the society. So like that, for everything they will be having a policy in the organization. They will be following that policy only. Based on these policies only, actions will be taken. They will follow the procedures which are followed in the policies. Even if you see here, like for changing the, for example, for changing the staff, they will be following the recruitment policy. Okay, so everything, it is like a Bible for the organization. Okay, they have to refer from that guidelines only. Based on those guidelines only, they will be changing the policies. They will be following that. Clear? So there are the stages of implementation. 5 stages of policy implementation. Can anyone go and get a marker? 5 stages of policy implementation. Policy implementation. So the first one is agenda setting. The second one is formulation. Third one is adoption. Fourth one is implementation. Then the last one is evaluation. Agenda setting, formulation, adoption, implementation and evaluation. So the first stage is agenda setting. So what is this agenda setting? When you have a meeting, you will be called for the agenda. What is the agenda for the meeting? That means in that meeting what are all the things we are going to talk about. So in the policies, what are all the contents in the policy? That should be first set. Okay? In the agenda setting, you will be setting the contents of the policy. What are all the contents? What are all the key factors which we are going to see in the policy? That is most important. That is the first initial stage of the policy implementation. After setting the agenda, we have to formulate it. We have to put in the proper places. Thank you. I think we can throw these ones. Formulation. So we have to formulate it. We have to make it like into proper papers, because if you see the organization will have their own board of directors. It might be 2 or 3. So it has to be sent to the council and it has to be made formulate. It should be a formal document by which we are going to follow the policies in the organization. So it has to be formulated. It has to become formal for action. And the third stage is adoption. We have to adopt those policies in the organization. We have to follow those policies. It is not like keeping the policies in the organization. No. Whenever there is an issue, whenever there is a rise, we have to follow those policies. We have to adapt those things in the organization. It is not just keeping the policies in the organization. No. We have to adapt it. And the next one is implementation. So whatever there is, we have to implement. So implementation is very important thing, because in implementation you have to record it recordically. In which case you are implemented this policy. If there is any sexual harassment in the organization, how you have implemented it? You have to record it. If there is any discipline issue for the employee, how you have dealt it. Okay? It has to be recorded in a document. And the last one is evaluation. We have to evaluate whether that policy is applicable practically, whether this policy is useful for the organization, whether any other policies are needed, whether any changes are to be needed in the policy. We have to evaluate the worthiness of the policy. Okay. So these are the steps or stages of policy implementation. First you have to set your agenda. You have to set your contents, what are all the contents in the policies. Then you have to formulate how you are going to follow it. Then you have to adopt the policies in the organization, implement and evaluation. So these are the stages or these are the contents of a policy. Not only in small business enterprise, but if you take the large scale industries or even the medium, the policies may be the same. Okay. Any doubt so far? Elements of policies. Elements of policies. First one is educate. So the employees and the organization should be educated about what are all the policies we have. Okay. Now if you see the chair people, the higher education, they are very much concerned about the policies. So they want the students to know what are all the policies which are available in your university. Okay. So it is not like that keeping the policy, printing it and putting it in the library. No. We should know what are all the policies which are being followed in the university. Not only here, in all the universities. So the first one is we have to educate. The first element of policy is the people, the employee and the organization has to educate the employees in the organization. So I should know what are all the policies. I should be aware. Like if I do any disciplinary measures, then this will be the consequence. I should be knowing that, okay, if I have been cheated in the exams, then I will not be allowed to sit for the next exams. So I should know whatever I do, there will be a consequence. So for that, the first thing is we should be educated. The employee should be educated about the policies in the organization. The second one is If there is any change in the administration policies, then that should be informed in a written document. So if there is any changes in the administrative policies, then that policy should be circulated to the employees in a document so that the employees know that about the changes. For example, if that managing director is not no more in the organization and if he is being fired of that discipline means a document, a memo should be flowing to the employees that he is no more. Okay. So it has to be documented. Any changes in the management, in the administrations should be informed. And the last one is we have to monitor. Any policy should be monitored because we have to follow whether these policies in the organization are effective or not. We have to monitor the effectiveness of the policies and we have to also enforce the policy if it is not effective. If your organization is not following any policy means, then that policy should be made, that policy should be enforced to the employees to make it effective. Okay, so these are the three elements of policies. We have to educate. Then if there is any changes in the administration, it has to be noted. Then you have to evaluate, monitor and evaluate. And if any policy is just not in action and if it is just in the place, we have to make it effective. We have to force the people to do it. So these are the three elements of policies. There are some of the common policies which the organization should have. General policies, okay, general common policies which the organization should have. The first one is health and safety. Health and safety. Health and safety is a very important policy that all organizations should have, especially in production units. When they are working with machineries, when they are working with plants and equipments, some employees may put the hands. Some accidents may happen. So for that they need the health and safety policies. Then code of conduct. Code of conduct policy. There should be a code of conduct policy. How to behave in the organization. What is the time for them to clock in? What is the time for them to clock out? Code of conduct, how their dressing should be. In what way they should be coming to the organization. What is the time? What is the leave procedure? Everything should be there. Code of conduct. Then corporate social responsibility policy. Corporate social responsibility, CSR. Corporate social responsibility policy. Every organization has a corporate social responsibility. Nowadays it has become a very common term. Even if you see some organization I had seen in 10 or 15 days before in the newspaper, one of the company in Lilongwe, they had the corporate social responsibility of cleaning that Likuni market. You know that market? I think it's Likuni if I am right. Cleaning that market because it was very dirty and the cholera was spreading. So that company took the initiative of corporate social responsibility to clean the market. So that is one policy. So they would have contributed some money in order to clean that. So that is also one of the important policy which is being followed nowadays. And your employment policy, like your terms and conditions. So if any employee is being employed for the first time, new employment means What is the policy? How much salary? How many years of contract? What is the term of reference? Everything has to be given. What is the terms and conditions? Okay, that is also one of the important policy in the organization. Then they will be having the use of internets and emails, use of technologies. For that also one policy will be there. So these are the common policies which are being there in the organizations nowadays. How you can say that this is a good policy or a bad policy? How you can define what is a good policy? Yes? How you can define this is a good policy?
We can identify a good policy by I would say the majority of votes and how people are flexible with this.
Okay.
Or the compatibility of the policy in the organization.
Okay, then we can say a policy as a good, as we told, like compatibility and also relevance. Okay, the policy should be specific, relevant to the subject matter. Okay, for example, if the employees in organization, the employees means only female employees are there, we cannot have a harassment policy. If only male employees are there, we cannot have. And if there are only male employees means we cannot have a maternity policy. So the policy should be relevant to the audience. So we can say a good policy based on the specific, relevant and application. Specific, relevant and application to the target audience. So as I said, the examples, we cannot keep a health policy for the 2-year or 3-year kid. So it should be relevant to the target audience and it should be clear. The policy should be clear and brief. It should not be like running pages. No. It should be clear and what? Clear and brief. It should be short, not a long one. A policy should be clear and brief. Okay. And the rules should be clear. The rules which has to be followed should be clear. If a policy has these things, then we can say it is a good policy. Otherwise, it is a bad policy. When you can say the policies are good, when it is specific, understandable, and when it is clear, brief, which should be very attractive to the audience. Okay, and it should be reliable to the target audience. Then only we can say that the policy is a good policy. Otherwise, it is a bad one. Can you understand? Yes or no? Yes?
Yes.
What are the guidance for writing a policy? There are some guidance for writing a policy. So the first one is, as I told, it should be very simple. Guidelines for writing policy. It should be very simple so that even a layman, even a normal person can be able to read it. As it is simple, the policy should be also clear. It should be clear and specific so that it is not like a big one which is elaborate. It should be very simple and clear to understand. And It should be relevant. It should be relevant to the context. As I told you, if there are only male employees, we cannot have one maternity policy. Yes or no? So the policy which is available should be relevant. It should be very general one. It should be general. Like it should be suitable for all situations. Okay. General means it should be suitable for all situations. It should not be more like one or two policies can be specific, but general policies, it should be suitable to all situations. And next one is like clear, specific, relevant, general, simple, and the last one is it should be accurate. So whatever the policies indicates the solution, it should be accurate. We should not confuse in that. The indications, the procedures which are followed in the policy should be accurate. So your first unit, there are 4 key elements A, B, C, D, like meaning, characteristics, importance, policy initiatives, and the last D is ownership structure. Ownership structure. What is ownership structure? You all know that. What is ownership structure? Yes, we have different types of ownership like sole proprietorship, partnership, limited, unlimited, your NGOs. Okay. So what we are going to do is, we are going to sit as group and discuss what is the organization structure, what are all the different ownership structures. For example, sole proprietorship means what are all the advantages and disadvantages. Partnership means what are all the advantages and disadvantages. So you take 15 minutes or even before that, if you finish you can come. One has to come and present. The one who has not presented last class. I think last class you have presented. So the other student, any one of the other students should come and present. Clear? You can now discuss.